Three GW students from three parts of the world with one thing in common. Climate change is affecting their hometown. The places where they live are vulnerable to flooding and leading to emerging infectious diseases that are spreading within their communities and their families. Today we will be sitting down with each of these students to discuss what climate change looks like where they live, how they're adapting to that or what they're doing about it, how they believe they can impact climate change, and why other students should join their movement for climate justice. These are their stories.
In Alaska, the melting ice is causing wildlife hunting grounds to shrink. Seals, polar bears, even caribou are now forced to come closer together, creating cross-species diseases to emerge. To adapt to this, we must take extra precautions with the collection, cleaning, storing, and cooking of our food. Our usual food sources may be contaminated, and with medical assistance not always readily available, it is easier to do this than to become ill. We can impact climate change by helping to keep the animal populations from becoming further affected by human activities. We can find further ways to live off the land in a sustainable way. Without the Arctic and the habitats that are available to animals in Alaska, we will see extinctions of species more often, as well as more diseases among humans caused by contaminated animal consumption, including people who do not live in Alaska, but eat the fish that are caught in these northern waters. GW. Raise high for me, raise high to adapt.
My name is Rabita, and I was born in Bangladesh, which has over 160 million people living in an area slightly smaller than the state of Iowa. And millions of people are at risk of losing their homes and their livelihoods due to rising sea levels. By 2050, rising sea levels will inundate 17% of the land and will displace 18 million people.
But already, millions of people have left their homes to escape rising waters and the floods that come with it during the monsoon season. 1.5 million of the 5 million people who live in the slums of Dhaka have moved from villages from the south. Rabita has met with some of these people while volunteering in the slums of Dhaka after graduating from undergrad at GW. These residents have told her how the floods have increased both in frequency and intensity over the years, thus driving them to move north into the slums of the cities. Bangladeshis have come up with ways to adapt to climate change. For example, classes for schools on boats when it floods, or building homes where the roof can transform into a flotation device. Bangladeshis have contributed almost nothing to climate change, so it's nearly impossible to impact. The only thing Bangladeshis can do is adapt to this climate change as best as they can, and we as students can help them and other susceptible populations. We can come up with innovative ways to adapt in a way that's equitable for the most vulnerable. This issue isn't going away. It's just going to get worse for Bangladeshis and other similar populations. But we as students can help change that. We can raise high for Bangladesh, and we can raise high to adapt.
So what does climate change look like in Florida? Well, obviously people think that Florida is the land of sun and beaches and sand, but we're losing the sand. Above that, there's also bugs. Mosquitoes are normal in water and swampy lands, but the bugs are more than normal. The winter isn't killing off the gnats, and we're having diseases like West Nile, and even chikungunya was new last year. So new diseases that we haven't had in Florida are coming to Florida. So how am I adapting? Well, I did move for school, so moving away is one of those options, but I don't want to leave Florida forever. I think that I do want to go back, but that is one of the things that people have to do, is leave their homes when flooding or bugs draw them away. You never really think bugs are going to get you, but my best friend came down with West Nile from a mosquito bite. We'd lose a lot of land on our coasts. We'd lose coastal wetlands that protect bugs, or protect the bugs coming inland. There's a lot of things that happen with climate change, and we just need to be made aware. It's just the tip of the iceberg. So that's why I want students to join. I want students to become aware of what's happening and start making changes in their own lives, in their own consumption habits, and also start planning for the future. Raise high for climate change. We can make a difference.
GW Public Health students Rabita, Beth, and Lauren are gathering together to form a climate justice movement by advocating on behalf of those most impacted by flooding and infectious diseases, but also for all of us here at GW who may soon face these same problems if we don't adapt.